Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and we're excited to have each and every week various conversations to help you work on your business. In fact, have the premier accounting firm in your area. It's in this podcast that we weekly have guests on to address various topics ranging from sales and marketing, client acquisition, client retention, mindset, pricing, and so much more. So I invite you to listen and actually join us. This week is going to be no exception, and I'm very excited about our conversation today. I've heard Ben Day speak on a number of occasions and have had the privilege of speaking with him as well. Ben Day is the one who founded Lionshare Bookkeeping back in 2017 with a simple goal to make enough money for a down payment on a house that would kickstart his real estate investment journey. Today, Ben and his team help over 100 real estate teams get their finances straight each and every month. Ben has taken the lessons he's learned along the way and packaged them together into his group coaching program called Built by Bookkeepers, which helps established bookkeeping professionals grow their highly effective business by leveraging what Ben refers to as Bookkeeping CEO Blueprint. Ben has actually served as CFO of a 9-figure real estate conglomerate with teams dedicated to underwriting, acquisition, lending, construction, property, and asset management. And in addition to that, he's actually been building his bookkeeping business and is a coach. Ben is a real estate investor himself, a musician, a self-proclaimed beer snob, and generally tries to do too many things at the same time. So Ben, welcome to the show.
Man, I am just so excited to hop on here with you today and just nerd out about the accounting world, man. Let's get to it.
This is good. So usually where I want to begin is just a little bit of a background. Tell me, what drew you to the accounting profession? Obviously, you had this real estate interest. You were trying to make a down payment. So heck, why not start a bookkeeping business? Give me some context behind that.
Sure. So my love for real estate was kind of like tertiary in my story. And honestly, I didn't really love accounting ever. I went to school. I went to the University of Oklahoma for music, and I got that degree. And as part of my, I had to barter with my folks in order to get a little support in going to school for something that will never pay. And they said, hey, we really need you to get a major in something that will pay you. If you do that, you can also do whatever you want with music. And so I ended up picking up a bachelor's degree in accounting while I was at OU. But then I hopped straight into the music world, and it was rock and roll, super fun, classical music, booking like events overseas and at home and scheduling concerts. And it was really cool until Christmas Eve, December 2016, when my boss, the head dude, walks up to me, hands me a check and says, hey, we got our numbers mixed up. I technically can't pay you any more than this. We've got to press pause on what you and I are doing until we get our money right. And so I'm standing there in Christmas Eve holding what is the last check to be determined. And I'm like, man, this sucks. How can I never be personally in this situation again? How can I start a business that sets me free and doesn't make me dependent on someone else knowing what they're doing? But also, how can I help other people that are really passionate about their craft that also happen to be not so passionate about the money? How can I fill that gap? And so it was a very quick transition for me over the next 4 months into, passive income's really neat. We're inundated with that on the internet. So passive income's really neat. Maybe real estate. Well, I don't really have any money for real estate. I don't understand this. I'm nervous about it. What if I could get a peek behind the curtain? What if I could really see what's going on? What if I started a bookkeeping business that would just kind of let us see how this operated? And that's really where Lionshare was born, was out of that kind of desire to just get a little peek behind the curtain, but also set myself free from employment moving forward.
So I'm curious, in starting the business, you kind of allude to it as it was kind of like a stepping stone. Obviously, you've been doing this since 2017. At what moment did you really say, okay, I guess I'm in this for the long haul. I am going to be doing this as a full-time gig. When was that conversion, and what was that like for you from a mindset point of view?
Oh, dude. So I love this question, man. So I fundamentally believe that good entrepreneurs have what I refer to as catalyst moments, right? It's where, and for anybody that's not familiar with a catalyst, it's very similar to, you're in the kitchen, you're trying to get a pot of water to boil, and you toss a little salt in there and suddenly it's boiling, right? Like almost immediately. That salt is a catalyst. It's going to take you, it's an outside element that gives you the energy to meet that goal, to cross that threshold. And so I can point to two really big catalyst moments for me. Technically three. You've just heard about the first one.
Yeah.
The second big catalyst moment for me was about 8 months later. It was August of 2017. And I had already helped organize and plan a music festival in Austria. We were in Austria for 2 weeks. We were playing classical music in the town where Haydn was buried, in the castle where Haydn wrote the original music. Like, it was super cool. And I'm sitting there with all of my friends, and we're about 10 days in. There's a couple days left, and these are the fun days, right? Concerts are over. Now we're just hanging out, drinking wine 24/7. And like 80% of the attendees have to leave this festival early because they've all got jobs. And the folks that are staying are either retired or they were business owners that had managed to set themselves free and they worked on their own schedule. And it was at that moment where it was like, I think I've got the wrong headspace about this. I've been thinking about this like a side hustle,
Yeah.
like something I don't have to commit to. If I really committed to this, I think I could live the life that I want. I think I could do this. And from there, it was gangbusters. We started putting on clients like crazy immediately after that. And it's just a mindset shift. It was this is the lifestyle. Let's do it.
You're using the terms that I really love, and I think they do resonate with people. You've said catalyst, you've said mind shift. I think there's that epiphany where all of a sudden you just get full on committed because you have that breakthrough moment. For a lot of people, when I speak with them, it's when they actually break free from the chains of imposter syndrome and obviously just take that confidence and apply it full force into the business. What you're describing is, I think, something everybody experiences when they finally realize this is what I'm good at and this is what I'm going to be good at and I'm going to excel in this space. So this is really resonating with me. Now, as a mindset moment, you're obviously now full on committed, 2017. I'm just curious, give us kind of a trajectory of what's changed now that we're here today in your business. Where are you today, just to give it some scope?
Sure. So today, Lionshare Bookkeeping works exclusively with real estate investment businesses, whereas in 2017, we were taking on anybody that could fog a mirror, right? And by we, I mean me.
Yeah.
In 2017, I was like, man, I really need to get paid. And so I did. I did whatever it took. I learned the lessons. In 2019, we pivoted. We fired all clients that weren't real estate related. Also in 2019, we started hiring staff. That's W-2s, that's contractors inside the U.S. and then offshore staff as well. Today, actually, we've segmented the business out where we have 3 different teams of bookkeepers inside a Lionshare. One team deals exclusively with syndications and funds inside the real estate space. One team deals exclusively with Airbnb, VRBO, short-term rental, and short-term rental management companies. And then our third team is what we refer to lovingly as our investor clients. And these are the folks that maybe want to flip a house and also maybe want to be a landlord and maybe want to wholesale, and they kind of want to do everything all the time. And we have a really powerful and dynamic bookkeeping team to service the investors we know that just like to chase opportunity wherever they see it.
This is so good. Say 2019, you take and what we would commonly refer to in the industry, just because of everyone talking about it, it's that declaration of you're choosing a niche. Let's talk about that for a quick minute. And then I'm going to talk about your growth, the W-2 contract, and then we're also going to talk about offshore. I think there's some good topics in here. So let me begin with niching. I know a lot of people consider this. They hear it all the time. How has niching made a difference for you and your firm? Where has that been a differentiator as to not only your offering, but your abilities to perhaps command that space, charge more, and so forth?
Sure. So, look, everybody likes to talk about this. There's a lot of different answers that you can begin to give in this space. But I think arguably one of the most important parts about picking a niche is that you really become an advisor and you really become you more or less instantly weed out your competition, right?
Yeah.
I've been in situations where I'm talking like over the course of a day, I'll talk to somebody that runs a cleaning company, and then I talk to a cannabis company, and then I talk to a digital marketing company, and I'm on those calls and I feel like a boring bookkeeper. Oh, we can balance your checkbook and we use QuickBooks Online and we do this. And it feels like I am saying what everybody else would be saying.
Yeah.
And part of picking that niche, basically, I just wanted to feel sexier on a sales call. It's like I wanted to be able to show up and be like, what are you doing? Oh, you flipping houses? Yeah. What's your hard money like? What's your capital stack like? What are you doing? Like, what areas are you in? How are you buying? Like, what do you want your team to be? Have you considered doing X, Y, and Z? And suddenly I'm speaking to my prospects, not like a bookkeeper, but like a fellow investor, like somebody that could be in the trenches with them. I can't remember the last time I told somebody what reconciling accounts means. Right. And it just made the sales process so much easier. And then it made helping my team really streamline their processes so much easier as well. We don't have to know, like, I don't know the first thing about Shopify. I don't know the first thing about sales tax or payroll tax software. No idea. Absolutely no idea. But I know what a closing statement is. I know what cost segregation is like the back of my hand. And that's and my team does as well. That really helps us keep our processes straight, our processes focused. And like I said, makes us way sexier on a sales call.
Your illustration of that was spot on, because so often the conversations that I have, people are just kind of exploring the idea of niching, what its benefits are. And I think you just clearly defined it. It's the ability to now sound sexy and really go deep with these potential clients, where it's no longer a conversation about reconciliation. It's literally about their business strategy, their business philosophy. It's getting into how they make money and really being a contributor to that whole experience. And I think that you just described it so well. So that brings me to the next thing with the growth. You obviously have considered and have gone down the path of offshore services. I think that's something that's come up quite a bit recently, simply because of the unemployment rate and the struggles so many firms are having finding good quality talent, keeping talent. What was that decision like for you to go offshore, and how has that experience been for you?
Sure. So I know that a lot of people consider going offshore to be like some people consider it to be a very political decision.
Yeah.
Right? Do jobs belong in America or wherever your country is, right? And I would argue that the answer is yes, every time. Every time, like everybody needs to eat. But I mean that genuinely. Literally everyone on the face of the earth should be able to pay their bills and feed their family. And so the decision for us kind of came down to, where do we think the future of this industry is going? I mean, it's like I'm 29. I haven't been in this. Like, I've only ever known QuickBooks Online. I don't even know how to start up QuickBooks Desktop, right? So I've experienced the good times of accounting and technology, and I know that we're on the way up, right? We've got a ton of really cool software that's come out in the last 2 years that's totally simplified huge parts of our business. And so I know that when it comes to jobs, what we consider bookkeeping is going the way of the dodo. That's going to disappear. Manual entry at some point is going to go from thousands of transactions a month to maybe a couple journal entries. And so when we begin to hire, I'm hiring people, like good W-2 American citizens, whatever, not to do data entry. I'm hiring those folks to be critical thinkers, to deal with the software, to deal with the clients, to build soft skills, to become industry experts, because those skills are not going away. Those are things that we will not be able to automate with relative ease anytime soon. And so when it comes to W-2 employees, all of those folks are here in the States, and we pay them a salary and benefits and the whole nine. For the cleanups, when somebody drops 4 years worth of bank statements on your desk and says, can you get this done by Friday? That is absolutely built for offshore staff. You can pay them more money than anybody else is making on their block where they live. They love to get in here and code a ton of transactions. And then they need that upper level support from my onshore staff to say, oh yeah, like, there's the garage, which might be an auto shop. And then there's the garage, which could be like a restaurant, and begin to deal with some of that or some of the other heavy lifting accounting issues. And so for us, offshore was a no-brainer because it brought some of our costs down so that we could afford to pay our onshore staff really what they need to get paid in order to thrive.
So that explanation resonates with me. I can identify with it on a number of levels. I completely agree with you as to how you've delineated between what could be an offshore task and what may be something that you want to keep in-house W-2 in the context of basically the skill set. What I would add to this conversation is oftentimes this distinction between client-facing people and people that are behind the scenes. And what I've found is a lot of times people say anything that the client doesn't experience or interact with, we're fine to offshore it, simply because of the fact that those tasks are things that can be done and performed by individuals that have perhaps a greater skill set in that capacity, and we can pay them well in their market space, but obviously saves us money here to afford, like you just described, some better client-facing talent that can actually help with strategy and so forth. So well said. The next thing that I wanted to bring up is advisory. You've already alluded to it. Let's talk about that a little bit. Many of the accounting professionals that I experience find that through their experience, they have good insights, perspective, things that they want to bring to the attention of the client. But for many, it's they lack what they feel the permission or the ability to bring it up. Is it my place as the accounting professional to start asking questions about the business model and so forth? Shouldn't I just stay in my lane theoretically and just do the bookkeeping as it is? How did you get that mindset shift to say, I've got so much more to offer these clients, insights, perspectives, business things? What gave you that ability to transition into the advisory space?
Man, honestly, just a lot of like unfounded confidence. But in reality, anytime I talk to somebody that's looking at adding a service, especially advisory, you really got to take a step back for a second and say, do you have the team to support that? Because if you are still the only person doing the bookkeeping and you've got a ton of clients and you're running ragged all the time and you can't make space, you're probably a little early to offering that as a service, but it's still something you can do for clients. Today, I've got dedicated teams of bookkeepers. I'm not in QuickBooks unless there's a fire, and it has to be a big fire at this point. But that kind of gives me the freedom to be able to call a client and deliver those services and have those conversations. And it's as simple, and it really pairs well with having the niche, right? It's like, hey, Mr. Client, it kind of looks like your business is bleeding right now. And I've got some ideas on how you might be able to change things up or some perspective. And just, I'm also a CEO. I've built this, I've done this, and I've seen other CEOs like you build this and do this. Do you want to sit down and just talk about this one time? And do you want to bring us on as that advisor, that number two, the hand of the king for the Game of Thrones friends, right? Where it's like, do you want to have a deeper conversation about this consistently? And the trick with advisory is that for me, it's not nearly as intelligent. Like, it's not book smarts. It's more emotional intelligence. It's more, hey, I can show up for you and tell you like it is and help you kind of guide this company from a financial perspective. It's not about the quality of my spreadsheets. It's about the depth of industry knowledge and the savviness that I have to deliver that. But that's really how we begin to approach advisory and where that jump initiated.
Yeah, I like that. The whole idea of the emotional intelligence and so forth, that's so true. It's more than the accounting. It goes beyond the numbers at that point. So what has your experience been in the advisory services? What kind of successes have you had with your clients? What kind of conversations do you feel you've had that wouldn't have taken place if you're in the accounting role only?
Sure. So strictly speaking, as a bookkeeper, your job is debits and credits, right? And hide in the corner and just code things and be on your way. Part of the power of picking a niche and providing some advisory service specific to real estate, right? Real estate investors have a particular brand of problem, which is balancing their taxes with their ability to get loans. And so that we're going to get slightly in the weeds for a second, just to kind of prove my point. If you are an investor right now and you have a rental property and you would like to go get a loan on that rental property, and you would like that loan to not really be tied to your W-2, to your take home, the kind of loan that you're going to get is a debt service coverage ratio loan. They're called different things, but that's the major financial metric that they're going to be judged on. And your property and your portfolio at large has to perform above a certain financial metric. You have to show enough profit. And so we get these investors all the time that come in and they're getting all their financial advice off of TikTok and Instagram. And it's, oh, I want to write all of this off. I'm like, okay, cool. Good luck getting a loan for the next 2 years. Or you can have us hop in. We can do our own thing behind the scenes, balance this out, maximize this for you. And we can write you a letter. And we can work with your CPA and say, hey, they really kind of need to be here. And we can work with your lender and say, hey, here's why their numbers are what they are, but these are non-recurring and this is this and that's that. We think this business is still healthy and should qualify for loans. And we're able to unlock hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in new loans, lines of credit, loan extensions, you name it, for folks, just because we understand that industry really well and we understand that financial metric, and we're able to relate that in a way that's non-abrasive to the real decision makers.
That's a perfect illustration of what I hoped you might say, because what you've done is you've gone just beyond creating and delivering financial reports. You've gone beyond, let's prepare the historical information. You're now getting into strategy, decision-making. You're really helping the business owner take what they're doing well, in this case, the investment real estate person, and help them strategize how to best leverage the assets they have, the capital they have, get access to additional capital. This is perfect. So the next question I want to kind of go to is something that you mentioned, and I'm going to draw attention to it. But you commented that you're 29. One of the things that I think is so amazing is how much you've accomplished so early. And I know that a big part of this is mindset. You do a lot working on your business. I know one of the things that you do is retreats, and you kind of step away from the business and really strategize for your own sake, just that business mindset. Tell us about what that consists of and looks like.
Sure. So I really deeply believe that if you don't spend quality time with yourself, you will end up a little workaholic accountant sitting in your desk 12 hours a day, and not taking care of yourself and not taking care of your relationships. And I believe that because I have lived that. Kind of like the third really big catalyst moment for me to kind of round that piece out was in 2019. We decided to take a niche and grow a team and whatever. It was because I was working 12-hour days, wearing the same set of sweatpants for 12 hours a day all week. Hadn't gotten a haircut in 6 months. And my partner at the time looked at me and was like, you're disgusting. This cannot continue. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's time for me to really check in with myself and make sure that I'm living the life that I want. And so I'm a huge proponent. And we met at BKX, which is a big bookkeepers event that happens every year. And my talk this year at BKX was about this idea of a brain dump retreat. Mm-hmm. And taking a retreat like that is it's really giving yourself permission to check in on the other things in your life that you know in your heart you're putting this off because something else is more important or something else is an emergency. But this thing that you're putting off is still really important to you. So how can we solve that? How can we address that? And that I attribute most of my growth, really all of my growth and all of my success, to that kind of consistent check-in and really holding yourself accountable. That's CEO skill sets right there. You have got to develop that. Otherwise you might as well just have a job somewhere.
You know, this whole mindset thing I deal with in the sense that each year we do vision boards. We talk about, and in my own business, we do retreats where we actually discuss the year that has happened. What are we doing in the coming year, a 3-year plan. We actually have, as part of our yearly experience, I do what's called a state of the company address, where we actually kind of recap, summarize the year. What are the highlights? What went well? What are we learning from? What are we excited about in the new year? When you shared what you were doing, that really resonated with me, because I think so often business owners, especially as they're starting and growing their businesses, they don't find the time like you were describing, where you're going 6 months without the haircut. You're wearing the same clothes day after day. You're so consumed by the business, and rightfully so. The first little bit does take that type of commitment at times. But I liked how you were able to have that identified for you. Somebody came in and said, hey, by the way, this is disgusting. and you were able to find, I need to get a little bit better perspective, work on my business, find the time to actually take control of the situation rather than letting the business consume and run me. So I really resonated with that story, and it really helped, I think, a lot of the people that also heard it. So here's what I'd like to do now. I refer to as what I call the three core services that make up the premier accounting firm. It's very simple. It's the bookkeeping and accounting services. It's the tax planning and preparation services. It's the CFO and advisory space. And technically, we can get to the point where we break those three categories down into the 6 elements that they each make up. But you obviously do the bookkeeping. You obviously do the accounting. I heard with cost segregation that you're clearly involved with tax planning. You're doing tax preparation, I presume. You've got the CFO and you've got the advisory. Which of those are you personally involved in versus you have the teams taking care of them? Which are you currently involved in at the client level?
Oh, sure. So, and actually, we'll just do a quick little reset. Lionshare Bookkeeping does not and will not ever do anything related to tax prep or tax planning.
Oh, okay.
That is we are Lionshare Bookkeeping. That is the wheelhouse. If we want to do anything additional in the tax space, which is something that's kind of on the menu for me right now, we'll start a separate entity and do that. Our philosophy is that we don't want to break up any happy homes. And when we take on clients, we don't want them to have to fire their uncle or their uncle's best friend who's been their CPA for years in order to come work with us. We would much rather deliver a great, knowledgeable set of books to that CPA and then kind of be a financial buddy, if you will, to look at how that CPA is performing and inform the client, hey, we work with a ton of CPAs and this guy's not it. This guy needs to go ahead and retire. He's hanging on too long. Would you like a referral? So I do want to clarify that a little bit. Now we have to touch a lot of tax planning stuff in that space. We consider that all to be in the advisory realm.
Okay.
And we want to work really close with the CPA or whoever's preparing the taxes to make sure that that's being handled appropriately.
So what I'm hearing there is in the advisory role, you would bring up the idea of cost segregation and with the properties that's a strategy that they should be using as they look at landscaping and putting in different fixtures and so forth. But you're not actually doing the cost segregation. You're giving that to another firm to actually prepare those things for tax filing. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Man, listen, I love ideation. I love just having ideas. If you start a business, you're a CEO, you should be a vision dude, right? So we're talking about vision boards and retreats and getting your mind right. Those are all skills that your clients want. I desire deeply for somebody else to come into my business and help me dream a little bit because I get so bogged down in the weeds of what I'm doing. Your clients want that too. And so we'll show up and we'll be like, hey, dude, you just bought $5 million worth of real estate. Have you thought about doing a cost seg? Where are you at on that? Oh, Ben, what's a cost seg? Listen, I don't have anything to sell you on this. I just want to talk to you about it. Do you want a referral for somebody that does this? But here's kind of how this works.
Gotcha.
And it really builds that relationship.
You brought up the retreat and so forth. I do enjoy facilitating a retreat in the context that, and for those of the listeners that don't understand, what I'm referring to is when the business owner wants to actually step outside of the business and find the time to work on it, they need to remove themselves from the office space or whatever is where they do the day-to-day work, step away with themselves, preferably a team of individuals in the organization. And in facilitating it, what it takes for the owner, founder, president, it gives them a chance to, rather than they run the meeting and kind of influence the discussions and guide the discussions, they get to participate. And as a facilitator, when you give the president of the organization the opportunity to work with their peers as they explore the history of their company, discuss where the new company is going, it causes the conversation to be a lot more different than if they had chose to, as the president of their own company, facilitate and run that meeting. So coming in as the facilitator, you're basically indifferent. You're autonomous from the organization. And so you're able to negotiate the conversations a little bit better. You're able to actually facilitate the conversations a lot more. And that dynamic where you get the business owner and their team to really explore what is the potential. We have an element of the facilitation where we do what's called a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And it's where the business owner has the opportunity with their team to just kind of explore without money being a constraint. What would you do next? What you're describing is really eye-opening for a lot of firms and companies simply because of the fact that I find that too often they don't do this. And yet you've already identified it as being a key element of your own business model, and you obviously espouse it to others to do.
Dude, yeah. I mean, there's just so much. I fundamentally believe that running a business is incredibly lonely. Nobody really knows what you have going on. It's never just the business, it's your business and your family and your partner and your dog and your life and your mom and all of these things. And finding the balance on that, no one can really speak to all of that except you. So yeah, you absolutely have. There's if you want to stay sane, you have to take the time. You have to put someone else in the driver's seat occasionally and do that introspective work, and hire the coach, go to the retreat, let go of the reins for a second, and do that personal development, and allow yourself to heal, and feel some camaraderie. I'm a huge proponent of that for me, and I'm a huge proponent of that for my team and my peers.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So what kinds of things have actually helped you stay positive in your attitude and mindset to kind of stay in that right place? Are there any habitual things that you have found help you do that?
Yeah. So first, fire that client that you hate. Fire bad clients. That's the easiest way to begin to kind of protect yourself, right? There's huge negativity out there on its own. You don't also need somebody dragging you down. So anytime I find, and I had this conversation with a student this week, where it's like anytime I find myself uh, anxiously checking my phone, not for emails in particular, but for emails from that person,
Mm-hmm.
or anytime so before I ran the bookkeeping business, I was a bartender and a server. Anytime I have a restaurant related dream where I got seated a whole bunch of tables at the same time and I'm in the weeds and I'm hating it and I feel busy, if I'm checking my email for that person's emails or I'm having those dreams, I know it's time to fire somebody, because they're just bringing my headspace down. Uh, so that's kind of tip number one.
Okay.
Tip number two is to really critically think about how awesome your business is. Right. So listen, I work from home. If I need to take so today for context is the 15th of September. It is tax deadline day at 5 p.m. today. I'm going to hop in a car. I'm going to drive 13 hours to a lake and I'm going to work all week, all weekend, sort of work. I'll read a book, I think maybe at most, from the lake for the whole weekend. And I'm not really sure when I'm coming back to my office because I don't really need to be here. So running this business is awesome. It's virtual. You can be smart from anywhere. Your team can work from anywhere. You can work anytime that you want. And so if you can really embrace the gratitude that you can do that and the opportunity, because you're a smart person, right? I know plenty about real estate. I know that I can go out tomorrow, work hard, and find a new real estate client that'll help us pay the bills if I need to fire somebody. You're surrounded by opportunity. So if you can remind yourself consistently of that positivity, that gratitude, and that opportunity, and then begin to prune out the things that are dragging you down, the clients that are too demanding, but they pay you a lot, so you keep them, or whatever. If you can really viciously protect that from both of those angles, you're going to be set, man. You're just drowning in positivity. People are going to look at you like you're crazy.
Yep. No, they do. They do. Yeah, I appreciate the abundance mindset. I think that's a game changer. Once you can get away from that scarcity philosophy, the world takes on a whole new perspective. So I think that's amazing. What kind of membership groups or like mindset type things, mastermind support systems do you have that you're engaged in right now?
Oh, sure, dude. So I'm again kind of a little throwback. I believe that every entrepreneur, if they're really doing it right, is going to feel incredibly lonely, and so you have to begin to involve other people in your life to begin to bolster the places where you feel isolated. And so I have a mentor right now for my real estate stuff. I've had a mentor for the bookkeeping business. I'm in a mastermind of other bookkeeping professionals. It's very general. There's 4 other people in this group with me, and we just kind of talk about the business and we moan about team members and how we can hire and bad clients and all of that. I'm forming a new little mastermind group and I'm forming it with a previous guest on this show with Tyler Otto.
Yeah, Tyler.
Tyler and I have been talking, and we're going to put together our own tiny little group to talk specifically about marketing and paid advertising and how to put clients together using that. And then I've got other little groups where it's, I play in a band to keep my mental health up. And like make sure that I still have a hobby and a life. I've got a nutrition coach. I've got a therapist. I've got different people and those different small groups like that to help me not feel isolated. And then I've got mentorships and coaching programs that help me feel challenged and really drive the next piece of where I want to go.
Perfect. No, this is amazing. And you're right. Tyler's been on the show twice, in fact. And Tyler's amazing. What he's been able to do with his business has been incredible. And like yours, I'm just impressed by not only the team he's created, but you guys have done a great job, each in your own rights, building thriving bookkeeping businesses. And I think that's just a testament to what you're doing is so good. Let's talk about, with your business, kind of the tech stack. I know sometimes people are always asking questions like, what tools, resources, plugins are you utilizing that you feel are kind of, if not the game changer for your firm, at least the backbone of what it is you do? I guess this is a plug. I don't necessarily want it to be that, but nonetheless, a lot of people are just kind of curious, what are you using that technology-wise has helped you become efficient? Just something that stands out in your firm.
Sure. So I think what's going to stand out the most, and I don't think this is going to surprise you at all that I say this, is that the best way to make your software really excellent is to have a niche and not worry about all the extra junk, right? And so, like I said before, I don't know the first thing about sales tax or payroll tax. So like, do I know that Gusto exists or however you pronounce it? Yeah, but like we don't have to use it because our clients don't need it. And so we try to maintain that simplicity through everything that we do. There's a lot of real estate software out there. We only use QuickBooks Online. We refuse to do anything else because it keeps us really simple. Honestly, the real shout out, the real plug here, if you will, is our quality control and client portal software. Once we're done in QuickBooks, everything that we have goes straight in. We can do our own QC, quality assurance. We can communicate directly with the client. We can pull reports and generate reports and send it all out just from this portal. We can manage all of our deadlines and our workflows. My office manager is in there telling people to get their stuff done by the 10th and all of that. And that is, we use Keeper for that, keeper.app.
Yep.
Ben Stein is my absolute dude. I love that man. I love Kenny Song, who's his partner.
Yep.
I love their whole team. Keeper's kind of new on the scene. Keeper solved a problem that I figured was only a human resource problem with software. And so it really fundamentally changed the face and the workflow of my business, made it easier for us to scale. I'm a huge fan of Keeper. Please go. And they're such nice guys. Go sit down with them. Just look at what they have going on. They're happy to show it to you. Go check it out. It's been excellent.
It's fun. You say down to earth guys. They are not only approachable, but they're engaged, and they're engaged at our level. That's one of the things that I think is fascinating. Is they're just, when you find out that the person you're speaking with at one of the trade shows or whatever is they're the founders and so forth. It's impressive that they actually have that interest in the profession and trying to really make what they're creating very useful and applicable to everyone's firm. So yeah, you did an excellent explanation of that. That's great. And Ben is amazing. He's a great guy. So you are a self-proclaimed beer snob. All right.
Oh yeah.
What does that mean? What's a beer snob? Are you particular about your beers? Do you just like trying a lot of beers? I mean, do you drink them regularly? I mean, what does beer snob mean?
Sure. So let me start off by saying, if there's one thing, really, there's two things about like education that I just really did my best to get through and never go back to. And that is chemistry and history. Okay. For the life of me, do not care about either of these things. And when I got introduced to music, it made history kind of important. And when I got introduced to the wide world of beer in general, history and chemistry both, just like, oh, I get it now. And so it's not that I'm very particular. It's not like I will only drink a Bud Light, the King of Beers, or whatever with a salt rim or what. Like, it's not that. It's that I am just so excited about like the artistic creativity that can go
Yeah.
into these, but also the really distinct history behind every beer you could ever make. Oklahoma City is kind of consistently about 10 years behind the curve as far as like popular establishments.
Okay.
And so in the last couple of years, we've become like this little microbrewery capital. And it's just really fun. It's really excellent. We go in and try the new stuff. I was so invested in the beer world in 2015 that I was working a restaurant job. I became a brew genius. I was about to become basically the sommelier of beers. I was working on that certification. That was a real path that I thought I was going to go down. And then I got hit with oh, hey, maybe a bookkeeping business instead. So there, in a very near or alternate dimension, like alternate universe, I am not a bookkeeper. I am somewhere making $100,000 a year just drinking beer all day. Like
I love it.
it's so close to me.
That's so funny. No, I think what really resonated with me on that is the fact that you didn't have an interest in history or chemistry, but as you described it, all of a sudden the love that you had for beer gave you an interest in history. You wanted to know the story, the narrative, and all that going on. And there's a great deal of history. I mean, you can go back centuries with basically beer and how it comes about. But with regards to the chemistry, you're right. There's a science, there's a finesse to it. There's this I almost want to say this little back room. Let's be creative. What can we do here differently this time? And in doing so, create something that didn't exist before with your own little stamp or fingerprint. And I think that's quite fascinating. There's a love that goes on there beyond just drinking the beer, right?
Yeah, and it's again, in a very real world, when I sell Lion Share Bookkeeping 10, 20 years from now, I'm immediately opening a brewery that will lose money every day so that I can do the creative piece, right? Like I want to so one of the more recent beers that we've had that I've really has really been a big hit. It's a sour beer that tastes like Skittles. And for the life of me, I'm like, how did you do this? Because it is spot on. It is like they did not miss. I'm like, somebody somewhere was like, I want to make this and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And the chemistry behind this is going to be weird, bro. It's going to be awful, but we're going to figure this out. We're going to try this over and over again. We're going to have a lot of bad beer and then we're going to find the perfect one. And it's going to be so fun. And then people won't care, but I will remember that I cracked the code. I was the alchemist. I was the great wizard that figured this. And I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I love it. I think it's so fun.
And what you said there is a story, which is obviously the history, how, why, and just the evolution of it. Quite fascinating. So that's cool. Next thing, you said you're driving 13 hours. I mean, obviously there's got to be places closer than that where you can go for a weekend. Where are you headed? Why there? And what does it do for you as a recharge?
Sure. So partnership is really important to me. Again, running a business can be a little lonely sometimes. Your partners don't always know what cost segregation means or the ramifications of that, right? All they know is that you're married to a screen for short or long periods of time trying to figure something out. And so this weekend is me more or less doing whatever my partner wants to do. So my partner wanted to go celebrate a birthday with one of their friends at a lake 13 hours from here. And they don't love flying. And we've got a great car for the activities that we're going to be doing while we're up there. So we're just going to drive. We're going to do it the long way. We're going to have to book an Airbnb somewhere to split up the trip on the way back. It's going to be a much longer trip than necessary. But the point of the trip is quality time with my partner and quality time away from the business. I'll do a little recharge. I'm going to read Good to Great while I'm there.
Oh, good.
And maybe implement some of that. I might revamp some of our stuff from Traction, right? But like it really is. It's that step away, a little bit of like personal development time, a little bit of business development time, a whole lot of partner development and reaffirmation that's going to happen over the weekend. I'm very excited about it.
Beautiful of it. Hey, I'm always game for a road trip. I love a good road trip. So that's quite fun. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to give a little bit of a summary of the conversation as I've heard it. And at the same time, come back to you for a closing thought. Real quickly, as an offer, there are two things here that I want the listeners to pay attention to. You can go to the episode description and get the information related to this. But Ben has been so kind to help by giving us a way to learn more about Built by Bookkeepers. If you'd like to, you can head to their website and you'll find out get the Bookkeeping CEO Blueprint. You can download it for free. It's a roadmap of scaling a bookkeeping team, and basically sign up for some one-to-one with Ben if you'd like to get some advice on things you should be focusing on in your business as well. In addition to that, you can actually, at the episode description, find out information more on how you can move into the advisory space and literally transition your firm from offering the traditional bookkeeping, accounting, tax planning, and preparation to now step into that CEO or CFO and advisory space, figuring out how to not only market and sell, price it, fulfill it, deliver this so that you can qualitatively offer services that your clients need to work on their businesses. So I invite you to check out more what it is you can be doing to actually become the profit and growth expert your clients would expect and need, so that you can actually step into this space with confidence and competence to deliver a quality engagement. So keep in mind, go to the episode description. That's where you're going to find the details and take advantage of this great opportunity. As a summary of our conversation, I am just enthralled with Ben and what he's been able to accomplish. Why? Because knowing Ben as I have, speaking with him and hearing him speak, the first thing that really stands out is definitely the mindset. He does a lot to stay in the game, energized, passionate about his services. He has a great deal of clarity as what he's done. I mean, he spoke of it earlier. They are a bookkeeping business, and he loves the discussions that can go around the different things, such as the cost segregation, as he mentioned. But he's clear to say, I'm going to stay in my wheelhouse. I'm going to offer these quality services. And in doing so, refer out what he is basically saying they need to do, but can do elsewhere. The other thing that I really liked is we had that conversation about offshoring. He was able to clearly define what is it that he's able to comfortably outsource, and in doing so, free up his revenue so that he can pay and have on staff good quality strategists and idea thinkers in-house so that he can actually get into that space. I like the niching conversation that we had. Obviously, there's passion that comes from getting rid of some of those clients that are consuming our time, but also becoming so passionate and in depth or ingrained in certain industries. His is obviously the real estate space. He's got a personal curiosity interest that he's been able to leverage there, and I think he's done a phenomenal job building his company around that. And then the other thing that we talked about is technology. He obviously brought up Keeper, and I just think it's important that we all identify what are those things in our business that we need to be doing to make sure that as we grow the company, we're growing it with some processes, systems that enable us to delegate effectively, have clear expectations of those on our team, and in the end, build a business like Ben has that is a self-sustaining, living, breathing entity that can exist on its own, allowing Ben to disappear like he has, where he's going to be taking off on this trip and really basically recommitting to himself and also to his partners and friends, because obviously we all have various needs and it isn't just the business that fulfills those. So lots of great keepsakes from this conversation. I appreciate those. Ben, do you have a final thought to share?
Running an accounting firm is an incredible opportunity. There's so much gratitude that I have for the industry that I need to remind myself of every day. And if you're feeling like you're stuck in the mud and you're just slogging through it and you hate tax time and you want to burn it all down, I'd really encourage you to take a step back and remember that gratitude and that opportunity, and then go fire those awful clients and go find some new ones.
Good job. Well, Ben, it was a pleasure having you here. I appreciate your enthusiasm, your insights, and I appreciate you sharing with us your perspective on this. Everyone obviously is going to benefit from hearing what you've done so well with your business. With that in mind, I do want to encourage our listeners, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to invite you to set your notifications to be notified as we release each and every week a new episode to help you work on your business and learn from the experts, those that are actually doing what we're talking about, and more importantly, see what we can actually apply in our own companies. Now, in this context, I also want to invite you, if you'd like to know more about what you can do to apply these principles in your company and offer these quality services, feel free to reach out to us here at Universal Accounting. You can do so by calling us at 801-265-3777, or you can visit us at universalaccountingschool.com. And always remember this: if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there.